This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Doc here for DetroitBeardCollective.com, Detroit's premier grooming company. Visit DetroitBeardCollective.com if your beard is feeling dry, scaly, if you need to maintain your beard. This day and age, there's products out there that helps you take care of your beard. Beard butters will make your beard feel softer, better smelling than ever before. The Doc actually rocked a beard earlier this spring and summer, and I actually used the beard butter. I heard that Adam was into styling, and I'm like, you know what? Let me take care of myself. So I went to DetroitBeardCollective.com and bought the beard butter. My face actually does feel smoother. I definitely checked out the products at the Detroit Beard Collective. They got great t-shirts, oils, the ultra-popular Beard Crate, which is a wide assortment of a bunch of different Detroit Beard Collective products. So definitely support those who support us, DetroitBeardCollective.com. I want to tell you about our newest sponsor, Team Top Cat Sales. Are you looking for team apparel for your high school, your club sports team, or corporation? Look no further than Top Cat Sales, located on the east side of Main Street in downtown Royal Oak, between 11 and 12 Mile. Through founder and former University of Michigan QB John Wangler's leadership, Top Cat Sales has developed a tradition of selling and distributing custom Adidas team apparel with the highest quality and best service. Get your organization, school, or club team all in with Adidas today by going to TopCatTeamSales.com. That's TopCatTeamSales.com. Also, follow Top Cat on Twitter at Team Top Cat.
Hey everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
Hello, everyone out there, internet land. How's everyone doing? This is the Doc and Jock Sports Podcast. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me for episode 126, my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. What's up, cuz?
First off, let's take care of some clerical issues. So last week's podcast, I said that the Big Ten was a lot better than the SEC. That has been proven to be false. The SEC has proven me to be incorrect, and the Big Ten totally wetted the bed. Just awful. That being said, I understand that you have made a discovery this past weekend. You have found something that it was a hidden treasure to you, and you basically have lost your marbles because of it. So tell me about this.
If you hear the extra pep in my step, I'm loving life. I am kind of a guy that keeps things simple. You know, just go to work, come home, hang out with the family, watch sports, try to have fun as much as I can, work as hard as I can to build this podcast network and build a psychology practice. But in my lifetime, I've never spent all that much on great internet. You know, I got it at college, came home, and then, you know, kind of gone along and gone with DSL. Very slow internet. So I'm very used to buffering, as they would say. You know, watch a Netflix movie, and then halfway through it, the good parts, it starts to go back to 25%. You're sitting there waiting, and then it kicks back on. So I'm like, at this point in time, I'm like, you know what? It's time. I mean, I have it at work. I know what it's like. I can't wait anymore. I'm like, Andrea, damn near in my mid-30s, I cannot take this slow internet anymore. Please, let's just look into, get me some prices as to what faster internet looks like. And it's always been a challenge because I'm not bundling it because I have Dish Network and I love them. I'm never going to go away from Dish Network no matter what because I'm a loyal guy. I like their service. I've had relatively few problems. So we look into Xfinity and we get the price. And I'm like, just do it. I'm like, relatively speaking, compared to what I was paying for DSL for the price of fast internet. And I'm like, okay, so what's the speed? And she's like, 75 Mbps. I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? So I'm going to show you now the speed test that I used to run before because I'm like, you know, I got 25 at work. It's perfect. It's relatively okay. I mean, I can't handle when there's like 10 people trying to get on it, but relatively speaking, with just me in the office, it runs good. So the guy installed it. I'm super excited. I'm going to show you the speed test numbers from before as to what I ran on Sunday. And what I showed him was I would run on 3 Mbps before. 1, 2, 3 would vary back and forth. Now I'm at 75. I'm paying for 75 Mbps. So basically 25 times faster internet. And I went apeshit over the weekend. I'm like dialing up all the apps on my iPhone, dialing up YouTube, scrolling across. I've never watched YouTube videos without having to wait, you know, and die out. So
at the fastest, you were going 13.2 megabytes per second here.
Yeah, that's the fastest.
Now you're up to almost 90.
Exactly. So I'm loving life. I'm streaming Netflix. I'm fast forwarding, rewinding.
By the way, I can totally confirm this because when we first started this project and we were building out the webpage,
you were like half hour to load everything.
it took forever.
Yeah.
Forever. We were up to like 3, 4 in the morning staring across from each other like, hey, are you done with that page yet? Nope, still working on it.
Yeah.
Just waiting.
Exactly. So I finally stepped into the world of high-speed internet. I'm loving life. And then the thing I did first was binge watch Netflix. That's what you got to do. And I came across...
So you Netflixed and chilled?
I Netflixed and chilled. Yes, sir. And I came across Making a Murderer. Everyone's watching it. Everyone's talking about it. You got to watch it. It's the 10 hours of the most riveting look at how messed up the justice system really is. If there's a phrase called reasonable doubt, it's shown very well in the movie, and I'm totally shocked that our justice system looks like that. So I know
It's based off a true story, right?
it's a complete look at these guys, at Stephen Avery, his trial, and his past history and things like that, and then his murder conviction and his whole trial, and it shows all the evidence that's put out there, the lack of evidence, and it really highlights too the fact that his cousin or his nephew was also charged with murder, but the problem was he was coerced into giving a confession, and he's limited. And it takes you through it flawlessly. You walk away literally getting mad, angry, nervous, worried, and you're just like, how does the justice system work like this in America? And the denials of appeals, the very fact of the matter is, the case is still ongoing in terms of appeals and stuff, but you got to watch it. Just in terms of, if you're ever accused of a crime, if you're in a situation where attorneys really want to put it to you and law enforcement, it's scary because you start to believe that, even reasonable doubt might not get you off the hook.
Did you do any delving into like the real life story, or you just kind of watched the Netflix thing? You've actually gone and you've looked into it.
Yeah, it's the real life story. It's them. It's the trial coverage. It's talking to the attorneys. It's a real live 10-hour documentary about these two guys and their case. And the first part that makes it riveting is Stephen Avery was wrongly convicted and served 18 years on a crime that he was proven not to commit the first go round.
That was like for rape, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. You have to see
I've got to check this out. I've not seen it, but
once you
Facebook's a buzz about it. Twitter's a buzz about it. Everybody's talking about it.
You're a conspiracy theory guy.
I am.
When you see this, I'm telling you, you'll never step foot in that county where this shit takes place.
I wear the tin hat, and I believe the government's out to get all of us.
Yeah,
so.
we'll break out a very simple, quick segment here. Doc's stupid, silly advice. If you ever sue the police for $35 million, it behooves you not to live in that same county.
No shit, Sherlock.
Oh, yeah, that would be probably a smart thing to do.
Because they're probably going to have a target on your ass,
Yes.
and that's what happened. So I don't know if you want to look into the evidence of whether he did it. It's really slanted towards the defense. I don't want to ruin it for those who watch it, but it's from the viewpoint of the defense. It's strictly a defense of this guy, but they do a great job of just showing what these guys went through and what a defense looks like. He had great lawyers. But the movie is infuriating. Your jaw drops. The first hour is a little bit slow because it's like a kind of overview of the past.
Okay.
Hours 2, 3, 4, 5, probably the best 4 hours of documentary filmmaking you're ever going to see, of just eliciting emotion. You will feel something. You'll be like, what? You'll be wanting to just take whatever's in your hand and throw it on the ground and really question the legal system. And hopefully some change comes of it. And if this guy's innocent, man, spending 25 years so far of his life for stuff that you didn't do is messed up.
That's messed up.
It's
I'm
great.
going to have to check it out, though, for sure.
It's A+. Jerry Mallory, host of the Hindsight 20 podcast, he watched it straight through one day.
Really? I've binge watched it?
You have to. You can't watch 1 hour. Once you get into it, you got to. I did.
It's like the first time I watched The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Like the very first time I watched The Walking Dead, I watched it on Netflix, and it basically consumed 2 entire days as I got through like the first 4 seasons.
I did 4, 3, 3. 4 hours Sunday, 3 Monday, and 3 hours on Tuesday.
Wow.
It's that gripping. I didn't want it to end. I wanted to keep going. If you like documentaries, this is probably one of the top 3 you're probably ever going to see. Let me tell you
I'll
that.
have to check it out. It's gonna go on my Netflix queue for sure.
Yes, sir. Now, we got to double back a little bit. On this podcast, we're going to talk about the Detroit Lions, the season that was, and also going forward. Because now the season's over. They finished 7-9. Now we're going to get a chance to look at the news and notes of what's going to happen in the future. We're all excited. New names are popping up every single day, and the Lions are about to really start the process of interviewing the next general manager. We're going to play a round of Jock Jams. I got 3 questions lined up that I know you're ready to tackle. And in the second half, we have to revisit the disaster that was New Year's Eve and the college football playoff and break down a little bit as to how devastating that loss was.
And how
Or
awesome
you could say as far as-
Michigan looked.
And how awesome.
That's
Michigan-
right.
But doesn't, well, you knew that.
Holding the banner for the Big Ten, baby.
Hey, if you're a fan
Everybody
of the
else in the Big Ten shit the bed.
if you're a fan of the podcast, you already knew that because the doc told you 45-3 in about 4 seconds. So I knew what was going to happen. We didn't have to break it down.
That was
So
like the
Michigan-
worst bowl breakdown ever. You're like, yeah, I'm over this. Hold on, let me read this thing to you from Twitter. This is really interesting. And I was like, did you just scrap everything
What
we
are
were
you
going to
talking
talk about?
I was good. I knew it was going to happen. It was going to be Michigan Love Fest. The offense came through. Jake Rudock looked good, and they handled their business. That's what else was there to. What
We
else to say?
donate 15 minutes to MSU. We donate 3 to U of M.
That's what the NIT gets, man. They don't get
the NIT.
They don't get nothing. They don't get no. That was irrelevant.
Let's go into Lions talk before you infuriate me.
Let's go.
All right. So, Lions handled business on Sunday. They beat Jay Cutler in his purple insulin pump.
3 INTs. What a fitting
my
end.
God, he's such a disaster.
No shit, Sherlock.
But before the game, there's all this news that's coming out saying that Martha Ford and the Lions are backing Jim Caldwell and that they want Jim Caldwell back as their coach and they're going to ride or die with Jim Caldwell. What? You don't even have a general manager in place yet.
They came out and said that that ESPN report was false. They said that. What are you talking about?
But they've come out every day since then and have basically reiterated it. So the ESPN report came out to be true. So I want to know what your thoughts are on the team coming out before the end of the season even happens, before they hire a general manager, before any of the ink is dry and you know where they finish in their division. They come out and they back this coach who has trouble getting 11 guys on the field, by the way, which blows my mind. I don't know how you can't. You're a head coach. That's your job. You're supposed to know this. He can't get 11 guys on the field. They come out and they give him an overriding support that they want him to be their head coach next year.
Going 6-2 in the second half, playing the way they did, really kind of kept a positive light on Jim Caldwell. He showed that the team didn't cave under the immense pressure of starting 1-7, all the hate that was going on, the Dungeon of Doom media. He kept it all together, stayed the status quo. The players rave about him. They really will go to bat for him. Everyone loves him. Megatron, Stafford.
Did they do that with Jim Schwartz though?
I don't know. You might have heard some rumblings. You know, you had, I think, a player, Jackson, that came out after he was let go, kind of saying he was the ultimate supreme dick. But they've got a guy now that is managing the team in a way that can be productive, going forward. The problem, though, and the difficulties that we all seen, if you evaluate this season, the Lions finished the year 7-9. They could have been 10-6 with just a couple, avoiding managerial mistakes from Jim Caldwell.
If you know the rules, if you can sit there and defend a Hail Mary pass and you're prepared for it, not for some of that. Do we have it? Do we have the drop?
Some of the the back and forth kind of thing.
Yes. Do we have that?
Yeah,
Do we have that queued up here?
I'll cue it up in a few seconds here, but I will.
All right. Some of that. If you sit there and you just are able to get the right personnel onto the field to defend whatever play is coming, if you can handle those things, yes, you're right. This team's in the playoffs. They are. If anything, they're competing for a division. But no.
You're kind of looking for more of that pass back and forth kind of thing.
Some of that. Yes, thanks, Jim. Thanks for coming in with that. You don't even know what the hell that is. It's called a backwards lateral, you dumbass.
And in the next game versus the Saints, they ran the wrong play and got lucky. They ran the wrong play again.
And then they're sitting there. They're ready to defend the Hail Mary, and then it's
hook and ladder.
Yeah.
But listen,
What?
Listen.
Like, dude, he's a total boob. Let's be honest.
The Fords are loyal, though.
I get it, but he's a great leader of men. All right, I get that. He rallies these guys around him. Hey, good job not letting them sit there and basically back out on the season when it was at its worst. Great job there, all right? You can handle that. You did a really good job with them surrounding all of those aspects. You're still an idiot when it comes to managing a game, to getting the correct personnel out there, defending or putting the right offensive packages on the field. You're completely predictable. You don't know how to handle timeouts. You're a complete boob when it comes to being a head coach. You might be a great coordinator, but you're a total idiot when it comes to actually being the head guy in charge. You're a moron. And then for the Lions to come out and before anything is even done, to sit there and back Jim Caldwell, how much less desirable do you make this job for the next general manager to come in? The next general manager, if you're the next general manager, you're coming in for an interview and the Lions are basically like, you got to keep Jim Caldwell. Well, why do I want to keep Jim Caldwell? He doesn't fit into how I do things. He doesn't fit my scheme. He doesn't fit the way that I want to build this organization. But now the Fords are again meddling, sticking their fingers in the soup, and are ruining it.
I think you're letting some emotion get to you. They've been saying the general manager is going to make the call.
They say he has the final say, but they've already come out and backed Jim Caldwell. How are you now going to put a guy in charge and say, hey, here's the keys to the Jeep here.
I don't think
good job with that.
Yeah, I don't think
go
the
ahead
Fords,
and do what you want.
The general manager, if they want
they've
to.
already come out and they've already said that Jim Caldwell is supposed to be the head coach next year. They've essentially said that.
Now here's the problem. Here's how lucky Jim Caldwell may end up being. Is there really a better coaching option out there? If you look at across the landscape, you might be looking at guys who are going on retread, what you'd call a retread. You know, guys that have been improving systems like a Josh McDaniel, maybe a young Adam Gase. But there's guys out there that you can maybe make an argument for that aren't better than the guy that you got who's got 18 wins in 2 years for you.
You probably have the next best head coach already on the staff.
Maybe that's.
But you've already told Jim Caldwell that, hey, don't worry, you don't got to pack anything up. You're probably going to stay here next year because we're going to tell the next general manager that, hey, you got to keep Jim. You got to keep Jimmy around. And the only reason that defense is any good, the only reason any of this ever looks good is because of the guy who you have as your defensive coordinator. The guy's a supreme genius.
That progressive move.
He's a top 3 to top 5 defensive coordinator in this league. He might be the next best head coach out there.
That would be a progressive move. You broom aside Caldwell, you bring up Terrell Austin, and you keep some continuity because he would probably keep Jim Bob Cooter, and you keep it going. I think that's a progressive move, but I don't think they're going to make it. But the interesting part, though, is that, you know, Jim Caldwell, when you just rank up his numbers, he's got 18 wins in 2 years, 11 wins the first year, 7 took a step back. But, you know, if he really wants to go defend himself, he could say that, you know, Martin Mayhew was fired. The talent that was put on the field wasn't the best. I mean, he does have input in that. But in the end, you could say that if you give him a little bit more talent, that he can keep a roster together and you can have some success with him. So I don't know if the Fords are going to be willing to take a step back to really go, you know, I don't know if they're going to be willing to go 2 steps back in order to go 5 steps forward. I think they're going to be happy if the new general manager they're going to hire is going to say, you know what, let's just keep Jim Caldwell. Let's keep the train going. Let's keep some consistency and see what happens with a schedule that could be favorable.
If they were to keep Caldwell, what extents would you go to keep these 2 coordinators? Because I think you've got something special with Jim Bob Cooter, and I think Terrell Austin, I've already said it. I think he's a top 5 defensive coordinator in the league right now. I think he's probably the next thing as far as a head coach goes.
Yeah, I think he's going to be gone. I don't see a scenario in which, like I said, you don't want to say that he's being interviewed to be the token interview to fulfill the Rooney rule. His numbers as a defensive coordinator really have shown and bared out that he's a solid guy and a guy that can be productive. Now, this year, his stock might be maybe a little bit lower based on, you know, Sue being gone and the defense taking a little bit of a step back. But in his first go-around with the Lions, they were the number 1 or 2 ranked defense in all the NFL. So he does have the great respect across the league, and he's going to be a head coach probably of the Dolphins or Browns, depending on how it shakes out. So I don't see him being back. You could try to make an effort, but a guy like Terrell Austin, I think, is on the fast track to be a head coach.
If you were Martha, would you go to him on the side and say, "Hey,
you're the guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you this much money. Hang out here. Once we get a general manager in place, we'll try to get things figured out, but we'll kind of groom you to be the heir apparent." And again, that kind of goes into what I was just saying, where the Fords are meddling, and I don't really want that. But I really do believe that he might be something special.
I don't know if the Lions talk like that with you know.
I'm sure they don't.
That's ultra progressive, man. You're kind of putting, you know, giving them a lot of credit for, you know, doing things that would make a lot of sense. But I don't see that happening. I see him leaving. I don't think he'll be back in 2016. Odds probably
watch
say,
him go to Cleveland and resurrect Cleveland and make them a playoff contending Super Bowl title team.
Mm-hmm. But so you're closing the book on the fact that Jim Caldwell can't repeat a 10-11 win season. I'm not closing that book.
I think Jim Caldwell is an idiot. I do. I believe he's a moron.
Then how did he get 11 wins?
They won in spite of him.
He's the guy in charge.
Look at the talent that they had on the field, right? You had a defensive line that consisted of Ndamukong Suh. Ziggy Ansah is the real deal. I don't know if anybody's missed the memo, but he is the real deal. You had great play out of your linebacking core, and you had a secondary that rivaled that of Seattle when they went 11-5. This year you come back, Ziggy Ansah takes another step forward. Your linebacking core is okay. Your secondary is a disaster. And when you go on and you win 6 out of your last 8 games, you do it against bottom feeder teams. How'd you do against the top teams in the division? How'd you do in the top teams in the NFL? You didn't do very good. You went what? 1-7? 1-8 to begin the season? 1-7 you went. You suck. You were horrible. Get out of here with that mess, dude. He's not a good coach.
Hear me out, though. Here's the part that's so interesting in how Lion-esque this really is. You swing on one end and you go, wow, you really picked talent and brought in Terrell Austin to run your defense. Jim Caldwell's responsible for that. you bring up Jim Bob Cooter, and he's somewhat of a talented guy. Now you juxtapose that with the fact that he had brought Lombardi, who was so bad that it's like, can you just find a happy medium of just bringing in decent coordinators?
And they kept him for a season and a half. He was unwilling to remove him. Kept him for a season and a half. And you could see that the offense stunk.
And his press conference, he refused to say that offense was inconsistent. He refused to call that. He refused to throw Lombardi under the bus. He said that. He just said that Josh Castenstein asked him, like, that offense that you brought up early in the year with Lombardi. He's like, it was. I don't think that it was inconsistent.
He's an idiot. Honestly, he's a moron. But now we're starting to see some names come out. We're starting to get a lot of general managers that are getting interviewed here. We've got guys like Trent Kitchener from Seattle. We've got Bob Quinn, who Belichick was very praiseworthy of, giving him all kinds of compliments. You got Sheldon White. You've got this Kevin Abrams from the Giants. Willie Clay from Dallas declined. Duke Tobin declined. They want to stay where they're at. But now we're starting to see some names here pop up for the general manager position.
And early in the poll at Detroit Podcast, obviously people like the names. Bob Quinn, 34%. Trent Kitchener has 38% of the votes. The question was, which GM candidates so far do you think have the best chances to be hired by the Detroit Lions? So Bob Quinn, Trent Kitchener, both directors of player personnel. Bob Quinn exclusively at New England. Trent Kitchener was co-director with someone else. So those names are great. When you look at that list of those four that you started off with, Sheldon White, Bob Quinn, Trent Kitchener, Kevin Abrams. Sheldon White, how's he have a chance to even interview? Seriously,
it's like you were a good soldier. You've been with us for 18 years. We're gonna throw you a bone.
Exactly.
We'll let you come in and sit down and sit.
He ranks nowhere near that level of quality in terms of Bob Quinn and Trent Kitchener. Those are guys from established organizations who win.
Even if you want to go with Kevin Abrams, too. Kevin Abrams has done a lot for the Giants. He's been with that organization for years, and he is part of the reason that they won 2 Super Bowls.
So if the name Tom Coughlin starts to become swirl around in the rumor mill for the Lions, what would you think about that?
As head coach?
Yeah.
Well, he's not Jim Caldwell. So I think I'd be okay with that.
You're down with the ABC plan, huh? Anybody but Caldwell?
Yeah, pretty much, man. It's where I'm at right now. I can't stand Caldwell. I really can't. I would love for them to go out, get a general manager in here, and then let that guy start interviewing people and have Austin as head of his list and just sit down and let them talk and let them kind of formulate a plan and see where they want to go with this. And if he fits, he fits. It's great. If not, let him walk. Let him go coach somewhere else. If he doesn't want to walk, he wants to stay, he wants to be a coordinator here underneath whoever the next guy is going to be, even better because, again, continuity's sake.
Okay, now, the interesting part with Coughlin is that he's won 2 Super Bowls, but no playoff wins outside of that.
I know, it's crazy.
No playoff wins outside of the 2 Super Bowl runs.
You figure he's going to win a Super Bowl every 4 years because that's how they did it in New York. Just every 4 years, they'd sit there, they'd suck for 3 years. Next thing you know, they'd sit there, eke in on an 8-8 regular season, and then just turn it on and go in the playoffs. Just blows your mind the way he did things there.
Talk about what have you done for me lately. Tom Coughlin doesn't get a chance to ride out in the sunset.
Dude,
man.
That's the way. That's a progressive organization over there. The Giants sit there and they demand excellence. They want you to win. And
2 Super Bowls is not winning?
Not recently. What have you done for me lately?
Man, that's tough. Yeah, it earns you that extra 3 years of mediocrity for sure. So, but we thought last week, if you listen to the podcast, you said Chuck Pagano. And he got re-upped. That was crazy.
Well, I threw it out there.
That was crazy.
It was one of those things. We're sitting there kicking around names on Twitter, and he's a retread, right? So when everybody says, who do you guys see? If not this person, who? Okay, well, let's go digging into the bushel bin of coaches that's out there.
Maybe fired, we thought.
Right. And throw it out. They're a complete mess over there in Indianapolis. Seriously, it's just a disaster.
He hit the coaching lottery, yeah.
When your owner is a coke fiend who's sitting there driving around his Land Rover and he's just smashing things up and they pull him over and he just got white powder all over his face, there's a problem. He wasn't snorting powdered donuts. I'm telling you that much right now.
But, the part that you look at, though, he's got 44 wins in 4 years. With the Colts, got a playoff win. So it's not that easy to say, listen, there are some organizations that are looking to take the next step from the gatekeeper to championship level. I feel like Chuck Pagano is a guy that can maintain consistency, get to the playoffs more years than not. But that's not a guy you think that's going to lead the Colts to the Super Bowl. It's tough to see.
I kind of disagree with you here. I don't think he's a bad coach. I think he's a very good coach. If you look at what has been that team's Achilles heel, their defense has been atrocious.
And offensive line hasn't helped either.
Awful. Exactly. So if you get somebody in there who can sit there and help them along the offensive line, and you get a decent defensive coordinator, or you just get some more pieces on that defense, I think that's a much better team who can sit there and challenge for a Super Bowl here.
Mm-hmm. So of the names so far that have kind of started to sprinkle out, any of the names that you go, okay, I'll be unsatisfied with? Obviously, if they keep Sheldon White and they keep Jim Caldwell, it's going to make us all go, you promised us some change and you promised us the best national search. If you do a national search and you come back with Sheldon White, Jim Caldwell, it's just going to be tough to have that confidence. I don't know. Maybe we got to talk to these people, how these people have like undying hope for an organization that may not change. How do you do that? I don't know. I mean, I'm one of the most patient guys.
You're a fan, dude. You're a fan.
How do you stay patient though?
Because you're a fan. You believe.
I'm saying
it's a belief system. You believe that they're going to be better next year. What you do is you sit there and you point to that playoff run. You point to that time that they sat there and you say, oh, they would have won. They would have went on, because you hear fans do it all the time. If they would have sat there and that call wouldn't have went against them in Dallas, they would have went ahead and they would have played Green Bay. And they'd have beat Green Bay, because if you look at that Green Bay game, Dez Bryant's reception was actually a catch. That would have been a touchdown. Then they would have been going on to play in a Super Bowl. Fans do it all the time. It's just displacement theory. You just move one team here because if you change this one thing, it now alters time, and you just keep plugging and playing your Detroit Lions wherever you want them to. Next thing you know, the Lions got 15 Super Bowls. What?
We could have been in 15 Super Bowls.
They haven't even made the playoffs 15 times.
Oh,
like,
man.
come on. What are you doing?
No, I feel like we've been pretty spot on. We were realistic. I think we both said around 8-8. And we said that it was going to be an up and down season. Like I said, when the schedule came out.
I said low end 7-9. I said high end 10-6. But
it could have been without mistakes.
Right.
What could have been?
But from that early list of candidates that we were talking about, let's kind of circle this back to the GM talk. I would love it if they brought Trent Kitchener in here.
It's not a bad fit.
And I know you said that he was a co-personnel guy, but he was a former scout for 10 years in Carolina. And you look at what Carolina is doing now. A lot of those pieces that are there, he was part of. He was part of looking at them and bringing them there. He's mostly the free agent guy for Seattle. All right, so he goes out there, he works on these deals, he works on trades. He was the guy who handled the Marshawn Lynch trade, handled the Jimmy Graham trade. He was the guy who brought Percy Harvin in, and I know in the long run, Percy Harvin didn't work out, but if you go back and you look at their Super Bowl win, Percy Harvin was one of the reasons that they won that Super Bowl. He was the game changer in that game. And he also brought in Bennett, who's a monster on that defense. So he made a lot of good moves for Seattle. I think he's a defensive guy. And that's what I want here. I want a guy who will build up this defense. I want a nasty, ferocious defense. And I want an offense that can sit there and score points. But I want that defense to be gnarly. I want it to be gross. And I want it to sit there and go out and hurt people. And now, Kitchener, I think, will do that.
Yeah, now Seattle's success is relatively new. Bob Quinn has an edge in my mind because whenever you say you're part of the New England Patriot organization, you just got to look at the longevity of success that they've had and their ability with, of course, input from Bill Belichick.
I was going to say, doesn't that scare you? Because I feel like Belichick's
he's seen it,
the brain there.
Yeah, but there's a system in place, and that's an ultimate system organization where they're willing to cut guys who are name guys who won them Super Bowls. You know, a Willie McGinnis, guys like that. You just say, okay, your time is up. You got to go. And also, they were willing to take risks on guys that were maybe looked at across the league as dangerous. And for the most part, they've hit on the majority of them. Now, you had the ultimate bad boy, the ultimate clown in terms of Aaron Hernandez. You might say, well, talk to me about that. You know, what went into your kind of scouting in terms of bringing that guy in? How did you swing and miss on a murderer, allegedly, and convicted? But
so nothing alleged there,
no, nothing alleged. It was alleged, and then he was
now
convicted.
It's confirmed.
A lot of evidence. So you gotta kind of ask him, like, hey, now what kind of, because the Lions, have you seen, have brought on a bunch of kind of choir boys. If you really ask.
Lions like the good guys.
So, but
here
10 years success,
let me,
ultimate program. I like Bob Quinn, but second.
Let me challenge you this way, okay? If you look at the Belichick coaching tree, the Belichick managerial tree, if you look at what has kind of the fruit that's fallen off of it, all right, I'm going to throw some names out there, and you tell me how good they did when they went off on their own. Romeo or Cornell.
He's ultimate coordinator. He's been terrible as a coach. Everybody's gone.
Thomas Dimitroff.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Atlanta right now, and
struggling.
Yes, exactly.
Scott Pioli
struggled.
struggled.
What's his nuts? The coordinator right now, the offensive coordinator. that everybody talks about as a coach.
Josh McDaniels.
Josh McDaniels, there you go. There's a litany of guys. We'll even throw Jim Schwartz in there because he's underneath that coaching tree.
Yeah.
And all these guys, when they go off on their own, they have struggled. That was supposed to go a lot smoother than what it went. I had all these names in my head last night when I was sitting there show prepping. I was like, I don't need to write them down. Totally should have wrote them down. But my point is, all these guys who went off on their own, they struggled. They all struggled. Guys like Eric Mangini struggled, right?
But that's along the coaching ranks. Now, the executives, you can say Pioli and, Dimitrov haven't.
And both of those guys, I mean, Pioli, disaster. And Dimitrov's been hit or miss. He's hot and cold. So I just think that a lot of the intelligence and a lot of the brain trust, it all stems in Belichick. I don't think Belichick passes that knowledge on so freely.
Well, in the end, I'm hoping that as long as it's not Sheldon White, as long as Ernie Accorsi goes out there, conducts this search, and does the best job possible, I do believe they're going to have someone in place that will reshape this organization, at least to look a little bit differently.
But you don't want it to look different for different sake. You want it to look different so it produces wins and produces on the field.
Yeah, no, it needs to be different in terms of bringing in a much better scouting department, drafting much more effectively.
That's
and having
kind of the reason why I like
success.
Kitchener, because he was a scout for 10 years. He knows what a good scout is supposed to do, and he knows what good players are supposed to look like. And that's why I lean more towards Kitchener than I do Quinn. We've already crossed Sheldon White out, and Kevin Abrams, he's basically been the assistant general manager over in New York for quite some time now. And like I said, he's really helped contribute to 2 Super Bowls over there. But I want a newer voice. I want somebody with a little bit more of a modern take on things, and I want a guy who basically earned his ranks through the scouting department. Somebody who can look at talent and be a talent evaluator and say, this guy is good, this guy will fit what I want to do, this guy works for the scheme, go with him. That's what I want. That's why I like Kitchener a little bit more.
Now, before we go on to Jock Jams, news came out that maybe after looking at Calvin Johnson and what he's been up to and his maybe overall attitude at the end of the season and hanging out on the field a little bit extra at Soldier Field, a lot of buzz that maybe he may pull a Barry Sanders and just up and retire and say, you know what, 9 years, I'm aching, probably took a miracle to get all 16 games out of him, and dude's ailing. Ankle was an injury. A lot of people talking about that he was just hobbling, trying to, avoid practice to not further injuries to be able to play on the field. Didn't play any preseason. Dude's doing a lot to try to stay on the field. 2 of the greatest players at their positions, Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson, just might up and quit. That'd be something, man.
I don't think Calvin's just
It's hard to leave
quitting.
$20 million on the table.
Right. I don't think he's just quitting.
Injuries, dude, it's tough. Football is brutal.
I mean, and that guy's fingers, they're all bent sideways and crooked. He can hardly walk half the time. And football's a brutal sport, period. I mean, let's just talk about what these guys have to go through every single Monday when they wake up, I mean, you need help getting out of bed. That's how much your body goes through just from a Sunday afternoon playing. I don't think he's going to just up and quit. I think maybe he's got another year or 2 left in him. If the Lions were to re-sign him, it's one of those deals where they got to kick the can down the road because his cap hit is way too much for the production that you're getting out of the guy. And it's just that's the name of the game. That's how it works. But I don't think he's retiring. He's 31? I mean, he still has at least 2 or 3 years left in him, I think. I mean, and I know we're talking about how beat up he is and how banged up he is, but I just don't think that, I just, like you said, it's too much money left on the table. And if you love the game as much as you love the game, you're not quitting.
Come back for that 1 more year and then bust out.
Right.
When you look at it, the Lions got a lot to reshape. I just feel like every day a new job opens in general manager, every day potential coaching position opens up, it just makes it a little tougher for us to get a new guy and a better guy, because when you look at options out there, yeah, the Lions are favorable because they got a quarterback in place. They got relatively young talent all across the field. But overall, as an organization, I don't know if you would stake your claim with this organization just based on the fact that it really has been a place where people have gone and really never recovered. Nobody comes to the line and then flourishes.
Let me ask you this, all right? Because these 2 teams are always held basically as comparisons to each other. Would you rather go to Detroit or would you rather go to Cleveland? And sit there and try to, which one would you try to resurrect?
Oh, Detroit's a lot better than Cleveland. Cleveland's already saying they want to hire their head coach maybe before their general manager.
Which makes no sense.
I don't get what.
But then again, the Lions kind of said the same thing because they're supporting Jim Caldwell as much as they are.
Now, one last thing. Again, sorry, things keep popping up in my head. There's a quarterback who likes to party out there in Cleveland.
Oh, dude, that's a great story. That's a great story.
Dude, that guy loves to party.
Oh,
loves him some partying, dude. I don't know.
Dude, Manziel's a monster.
He's a monster. You bring him here, give him a chance to back up?
No, not at all.
Right.
And here's the thing. The only reason you'd bring Johnny Manziel here was just because you want some interesting stories.
Yeah.
I would love to party with that guy.
Dude can party.
But he's a complete disaster. Just so for those who don't know or who haven't heard, because you might be living underneath a rock, they sat there and they put him into concussion protocol because they didn't want to play him that final week of the season because there was another video that came out that basically said he was boozing it up like he shouldn't have been. So they put him into concussion protocol. He has to show up for certain meetings at certain times for health checks and evaluations. He basically thumbed his nose at the Browns organization and said, hey, F you, I'm going to Vegas. Rolls out to Vegas, throws on a sandy blonde wig, throws on a fake mustache, wears some sunglasses, and introduces himself as Billy.
Billy.
Not Bill, not William, but Billy. Goes around shaking hands, kissing babies, and playing a lot of blackjack. Oh, Johnny Manziel, you are the cream of the crop.
Oh, no!
Okay, so he's not coming to Detroit. The Lions, though, definitely to address quarterback in terms of backup, someone to push Stafford. Next year, going into his 8th season, we definitely need to kind of make sure that he is pushed a little bit because he's a guy that's shown that if he plays good, is a great piece to this team, but it doesn't go well. He was still the quarterback of the team that went 1-7. So, all right.
I would go grab Kaepernick before I'd grab Manziel. And there's questions about Kaepernick too, but if you needed a backup, I'd go grab Kaepernick.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll play a round of Jock Jams. I got 3 great questions lined up, and I know that Jock is just ready to deliver and bring us some great news and opinions regarding the world of Detroit sports and news and notes across the sporting landscape. Stay with us. Doc and Jock, episode 126, Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Doc and Jock here for Fanatic U. If you're looking for some sweet sports swag and you love your Detroit teams, and I mean you really love your Detroit teams, you got to check out fanaticu.com. Check out fanaticu.com. Use promo code DSP. Save 15% even off the clearance items. And get the coolest gear out there and rock your Red Wings shirt. Rock your Lions shirt. Rock your Piston apparel. Wear it till the wheels fall off. Michigan State, you know what? They got it too. Check out Fanatic U. They have 6 locations all over Metro Detroit. Check them out. fanaticu.com.
Hi, I'm Megan McCormick. Make sure to listen to my friends on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Yeah, we coming now. Come on. Yeah, that's right. We put it down. It's like a family in here, just a little disabled. Putting it down, we lay them out on the table. Yeah. Who's in the house? The brothers in the house. Gotta turn it on out, let you know what we about. Kinda like Cain and Abel, a bit unstable. Don't be breaking the brain, break the whole damn table.
Welcome back. Thank you for downloading this and finding our podcast across many platforms, Podomatic, Stitcher, DetroitSportsNation.com. Anywhere at all you can find podcasts, you know you'll find the Detroit Sports Podcast. If you want to, go to iTunes. If you are an iPhone person, go out there, find us, Detroit Sports Podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. That helps our iTunes rankings and also lets us know what you think about our podcast. And maybe, you know, if there's anything at all you'd like to see changed or added or taken out, let us know. It's interesting. Leave us a review. Hopefully it's a 5-star review on iTunes. It definitely helps us out so far. I've gone through and listened to and read some. They're pretty good. The one, though, that was very, very funny. We've had, I think, 24 5-star, 1 4-star. And it was kind of like a backhanded compliment. It was like, these guys are like everything else on Detroit Sports Radio. Good content, da-da-da-da-da. But it's like he pinpointed some basketball takes that I think Vinny and I were going back and forth. And he was like, if you want to listen to anything like Detroit Sports Radio, listen to these guys. 1 star.
He was 1 star?
1 star.
Oh, he's not a fan of Detroit Sports Radio.
Yep, that was exactly his point. It's like, these guys sound like Detroit Sports Radio. So it's very interesting. But leave us a review. We do read them. And definitely feel free to message us on Twitter anytime, 24/7. We look at it at Detroit Podcast, and you can interact with us. All right, sir, you ready for Jock Jams?
Yes, sir.
Let's do this. Oh, right. Now, we got to look at the Red Wings a little bit. They've been playing really a little bit more consistently, but you've definitely seen a difference with the play when Peter Mrazek is on the ice. He started 8 straight games due to the fact that he got into, or he started 6 straight, but got into 8 straight games because 2 of the last games that Jimmy Howard's been in, he got pulled. So it's starting to become obvious. I see it. Everybody that watches hockey sees it. Should Peter Mrazek be the number one guy, the number one goaltender for the Detroit Red Wings?
I think that's already the case. I think he has staked his claim. You've seen it. Howard looks beat up. He looks like he's in a mental funk, and it's all between the ears with the guy. He doesn't come out, doesn't cut down the angles. He's not sitting there stopping the pucks that he's supposed to stop, and he's going out trying to reach for pucks that he shouldn't be going out reaching for, and he's putting himself out of position. Peter Mrazek's your number one guy. I think that Jeff Blashill knows it. I think the Red Wings know it. I think Jimmy Howard even knows it. If you look at his face when he's sitting there on the bench taking notes and keeping stats, he looks defeated right now. And there's nothing that can be done. You got to go see a sports psychologist. That's the only thing that's going to help you. But Peter Mrazek is now the guy. He's going to sit there and he's going to end up taking him. I mean, it's great that we figured this out now before the All-Star break, because now you can let Peter Mrazek settle in as your number one goalie. And as you sit there and you get ready to kind of make that push for the playoffs after the All-Star break, you already know who your number one guy is. And yes, Howard will be a very capable backup. He'll be able to come in, he'll steal you games, he'll get you a shutout now and again. But Mrazek's your dude. He's the number one guy. Everybody knows it. Let's just put this to rest finally.
Now, I agree with you 100%, but I do believe that Jimmy Howard will have a more prominent role if he definitely improves. He's a guy that you can trade, and he's also a guy that if Peter Mrazek gets hurt, can be someone that's serviceable. But if you want success in the playoffs, you ride with Peter Mrazek 100%. I agree. The Detroit Pistons welcome back Brandon Jennings since our last podcast, and he's done some decent things, but his last performance versus Orlando was great, 17.6 assists, and he looks like a guy that can, if his shots fall, if he has that lateral movement, if he stays healthy, can be a guy that can be an addition to this team, because man, oh man, when Reggie Jackson and Andre are off, if the shots aren't falling, this is a team that can look brutal. But Brandon Jennings can be a guy that can be a solid addition if he stays healthy. What does a healthy Brandon Jennings bring to this Detroit Pistons team?
Swagger. One word, swagger. I mean, if you watched him during that Orlando game, he was all over the place. And he would just bring the ball up, wouldn't even looking to pass. He knew he was going to shoot, and he knew it was going to be a straight dagger. And he'd walk up and pop a three. A healthy Brandon Jennings makes that second unit look totally different, and you're spot on in what you said. If Andre Drummond and if Reggie Jackson aren't hitting shots, if you can go to that second unit,
it's tough watch.
Right, and you can get a guy like Brandon Jennings, who was a plus 25 in that Orlando game. He was the best guy on the floor that night. If you can get a guy like that, put him onto the floor, and he can sit there and change the game around for you, you got it, dude. Stud. And he makes that total second unit look just different, and he makes them look lethal. I mean, that way Stan Van Gundy can basically roll two complete units so he can rest his starters and he can get those second guys in there more often. Brandon Jennings brings swagger. He brings a killer instinct. I like what I've seen from Brandon Jennings so far.
Third and final question. Alabama did some damage. We're going to talk about what they did to Michigan State just after Jock Jams. But they open up against Clemson as a 7-point favorite. And you look at it, you're like, the number 2 ranked team in the country, Clemson, has been disrespected all year long. I mean, the coach is basically trying each and every way to say, hey, now, come on, give us some respect. We've won each of our games. Now, you may not, respect us. We haven't done it as often as Alabama does. But, hey, give us a chance. But Alabama opened up as a 7-point favorite. Your thoughts?
Is everybody forgetting that Clemson also mollywopped Oklahoma, and Oklahoma was supposed to be the best team in this whole thing? Are people forgetting this? I mean, I know what Alabama did to Michigan State was ungodly. It was, we'll talk about it here in a moment, but it was embarrassing. So I just don't see why they're such a huge favorite. It doesn't make sense. Is it because Nick Saban has won championships and Alabama does this time and time again? Is that why? Is that what it is? Because right now, Dabo Swinney's squad, they're ranked number 1 last time I checked. And they totally handled Oklahoma, who was supposed to be the best team in the whole damn thing. I don't get it. And they ended up winning 36 or 37 to 13 or something like that? I mean, they mollywopped them too. I mean, that wasn't even a competition. On top of it, they've got a much better quarterback. I have no idea where what I seen against Michigan State showed up with Coker. I have no idea where that came from. But, I mean, they've got guys who can run, they got guys who can catch the ball, and they've got a lethal defense as well. I don't understand why Clemson isn't getting any love. It doesn't make sense to me. I think 7 points is a little bit lofty. I can understand if you want to move the point spread line as bets get placed, sure, go ahead and do that. But to open up as a substantial favorite over the number 1 ranked team in all of college football, who is undefeated, by the way, you have a loss. Alabama does have a loss. Everybody forget that? I know they shut out Michigan State, but come on. What's going on here? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't think Clemson's getting enough love.
Interested in one final bonus question?
Sure.
We were talking earlier about binge watching shows. I just watched Making a Murderer. It was great, 10 hours documentary. What was the last show that you binge watched? And are you big on Netflix and chilling?
You do know what that means, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The old way of Netflix and hanging out watching television.
Like some popcorn and pop.
Yeah, there you go. The old timers Netflix and chilling. I just wanted to see everyone's face when us old timers say it. They smile and laugh.
Last show I binge watched. Mm-hmm. You got me all sideways now at Netflix and chill. It probably was. Oh no, you know what it was? It was How I Met Your Mother. I was late to the bus on How I Met Your Mother, and I'd sat there and basically in the course of a month and a half, I got caught up on, I think it's like 9 seasons of How I Met Your Mother. And then it got me all caught up to where I could watch the final episode, which I had saved to my DVR. And that was how I watched the final episode. So yeah, that was probably the last thing I binge watched like that. Yeah, dude, I love just sitting there taking a day out and just basically me and my couch merge and form Devastator, and I just end up getting ass burgers, which is where my ass looks like I swallowed a whole bunch of cheeseburgers, and I just sit on the couch. Yeah.
See, now that I got high-speed internet, finally, I broke out the wallet, unloaded some of the cash to pay for high-speed internet.
Right.
If I watch anything, we'll do a little Netflix report and see what's going on.
Use the jaws of life to get into those pockets, eh?
I'm a big Netflix guy. Before we talk about Michigan State, Alabama, I want to give special thanks here to, I was just scrolling through Twitter at Detroit Podcast, GH Improvement LLC. Home improvement company. They just shot us a tweet and they were like, thanks for the follow. Love the podcast. Keep on rocking in the free world. Their Twitter handle is at GH Improvement. Thank you so much. It got to me, the doc. I read it and we greatly appreciate your support. Thanks for loving the podcast. Tell everybody that you're working with that the guys here at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network are no joke and we're going to make it happen. Thanks a lot, GH Improvement LLC. We appreciate the support, man.
Thanks, GH.
Yes, sir. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll break down the disastrous New Year's Eve performance by the Michigan State Spartans. It's been a week. I'm a little bit over it, but we got to break down what the hell happened. Stay with us. Doc and Jock, Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I want to tell everyone out there about DetroitSportsNation.com. They're a great website, and they've been very supportive to all the shows on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. They host all the podcasts. They have great writers that cover all the Detroit teams, all the college teams. Check out their website and support those who support us. DetroitSportsNation.com. The collaboration has been excellent, and it's helped us to continue to grow and have great guests, take phone calls. So our collaboration with the Detroit Sports Nation has really been successful, and support those who support us. DetroitSportsNation.com. All right, cuz, it's been a week. It's probably just the proper amount of time to have passed to talk about the disastrous performance that was Michigan State versus Alabama. You went up against the big dog. The big dog knocked you out. You were in the game. You had a chance to go into halftime, only down maybe 10-3 or 10-7. Connor Cook makes what is, in the end, the final mistake, the fatal blow for the Michigan State Spartans. And you were surprised. It actually went true to form, like we said. It was going to be close, keep it within 3 to 10 points, and come out at the half, maybe make some adjustments and play better. But Michigan State in the second half did not do that. Alabama took it from whatever speed they were, from whatever first gear, second gear, and they put it in full throttle. And sometimes in sports, be careful what you wish for. When we sat here and said, hey, let Coker beat you, odds would have said that he would not have been able to. But unlike Michigan, unlike Ohio State, they exploited properly the Michigan State secondary. Their wide receiver, I think Ridley, was off the chains. I thought they would actually take some shots earlier, but when they did, it was effective. And hey, that's why Alabama's the master. You can't really fault Michigan State that much, but you fault them in terms of their performance. Losing to Alabama, 99% of the teams in college football are going to lose. You can look at, hey, you want to be more competitive when you're going up against the best. And we all thought Michigan State would put forth A-plus performance. If you put forth that performance, you deserve to get your ass kicked, and that's what happened.
Game was totally embarrassing. I'm not even an MSU fan, and I was embarrassed for you guys.
It was embarrassing.
I was sitting there at dinner watching the game, And I was like, I turned and I looked at my buddy who I was at dinner with on New Year's Eve, and I said, this is absolutely embarrassing. It's atrocious. You're right. We said, let Coker beat you, and you know what? He did. I mean, he played his best game of the season. That guy completed like 70 or 80% of his passes. He was going into the game only completing 60. He sat there and he threw for 70 or 80 more yards than he normally throws for.
On point in rhythm. Wow.
He had his best game of the season against MSU. And in the end, that might have been the difference. Getting into the red zone only one time and then turning the ball over. Like we said, you have to get into the red zone. And when you get into the red zone, you have to put points on the board. Michigan State didn't do it. They got into the red zone one time, turned the ball over. And you're right. That was probably the final nail in the coffin, because at that point, Alabama was like, all right, we'll kind of trick around with you a little bit. And then you're right. They came out that second half and they were like possessed demons. And they just sat there and they ran all over the Spartans. And it was absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. However, watching that first half,
It was competitive.
It was, but I'm putting a lot of the issues with MSU scoring and a lot of the issues with MSU moving the ball down the field. I'm putting it on the coaching staff. I don't think Mark D'Antonio put them in a good spot. I think that a lot of the play calls that he devised or that he called or that he let ride out there were atrocious. When you're sitting there and you're handing the ball off to your running back 5 yards in the backfield, that offensive line or that defensive line is just swarming your offensive line, and they're just swallowing them up. So now you just lost 5 yards. What are you doing? And then you don't go to a quick pace, or you don't go to a tempo, and you showed that if you go to you speed up the tempo a little bit, you're able to move the ball down the field. You didn't do that, and that bit you in the butt. So I think there were plays that were left out on the field, and I'm putting it on the coaching staff right there for that first half. That second half the game was already done by the time the second half rolled around.
Yeah, and we said it. We thought that a key maybe to the game first to help Sparty get ahead was to actually get a lead and play from ahead. So, scoring first might have been more important than what we even said.
Even if you go into the half 10-7.
Or 10-3.
Go 10-7, man.
Okay.
Give yourself some credit, because you guys were right there. You go in 10-7. It's a different ball game when you come out that second half.
Yeah. And, well, in the end, though, you have to give credit to Alabama. Their defense was swarming, and there was a shot, I think, in the third quarter where they caught Connor Cook saying they're effing everywhere. And they were. They had speed, and that was, mano y mano, strength versus strength. The defensive line versus Alabama versus the offensive line for the Spartans. And who came out ahead? The Alabama defensive line. And that's what happens when you don't execute effectively on third down. I mean, their percentage on third down was atrocious. They were at 50% the entire year. Alabama held them to well under 50% third down conversion. They didn't have no offensive rhythm. And again, Alabama was able to, without remember this, without the use of their Heisman Trophy winning running back, Henry, were able to manage the game, keep drives going, and special teams, like you said, ruined the Spartans. I mean, the kickoff return was basically the gut punch, the punch that really was too difficult to come back from. You can't allow that to happen in the national semifinal game. And so when you look at it, the Spartans took another step. And so it's really tough, like I said, and you kept saying, why don't you pump your chest out? Why don't you be like, rah, rah, we're a program? Because it's really a fascinating look at a college football program who is taking incremental steps. They haven't taken that step from the final rung all the way to the top. They're taking baby steps all along the way. I'm talking about going from winning the division to winning the Big Ten title to winning a Rose Bowl. They are incrementally trying to improve that program. So for a program like Michigan State to go from where they are to top dog in the country, that's a big time leap. 2-3 relatively elite programs. They're the king dogs. Ohio State, Alabama, the teams like that are like the place keepers. Michigan State has made a step. They got you have to get there, and I would take a loss like that any day of the week over getting a meaningless win in a bowl game. You were there. You had a chance. It just shows now, though, when you get there, the big dog is not going to give up his throne easier. You got to bring more talent. And the biggest stat, Alabama has 65-star recruits. Are you kidding me? Michigan State had 29. When I saw that, I was just like floored. I'm still floored to say that. 65-star recruits. I mean, talent wins out in the end. So Michigan State has to take that next step from being a regionally elite program to being a consistent Alabama. Then you got to go out. You got to recruit big-time guys. You got to go out there. You got to go out there and wrestle these guys away from Nick Saban and Jim Harbaugh. Can he do it? I can't wait to see it. I think he can.
I think this season, much like you said, this team has taken, it's another building block for this program, right? You've taken a step forward. You're basically at the door and you're knocking on the door. What you need to do is you need to now kick down the door and take your place as a national program. And I think that's what Michigan State is struggling with doing right now. I think it will come. If Mark D'Antonio gets to this spot again and he gets blown out and gets handled like he got handled again, then I think we have another conversation that we have to have.
Yeah.
Right? But for right now, he has built a program. He has done a great job with it. It's another step forward. And I think they'll continue to keep taking steps forward.
Is this season a success in your mind for the Spartans?
Yeah, it has to be, right? You're one of 4 teams to be put in that place to sit there and go up and play the game that you played. You didn't handle it well. You didn't do a good job with that. But again, there's a learning curve. You sit there and you build upon that and you move forward from it. Like I said, you're at the door. Right now, you're knocking on the door. You need to sit there and you need to pound on the door and you need to kick the door in. And I think that comes in the next couple seasons here. I think you'll start to see that expansion of that growth.
The fascinating thing was the bowl season up until that point was horrendous. People were talking like, what the hell's going on with these bowl games? Why are there games on New Year's Eve? And then you had the TCU-Oregon game. Woo, that was a fun-ass game to watch in terms of 2 blowout halves with TCU coming back. You know, their quarterback, Boykin, really just totally, again, went party town and got himself in big-time trouble. They came back from a huge deficit. That salvaged the bowl season in terms of some competitiveness in some of these bowl games because the games weren't competitive. They weren't even fun to watch. So that game was great. And then the Michigan game was really fun to watch. It was nice kind of from the outside, not being a fan of Michigan, just to watch the game and tweet out what was going on and just kind of peek in terms of what was going to happen. And wow, all you could say is they came out, they looked like they were sharp, they were prepared, and Florida looked like a team that really didn't want to be there. And Michigan manhandled Florida, and they got to 10 victories. And it really showed that, hey, Jim Harbaugh is a man, dude. Jim Harbaugh is a guy that's going to motivate your team. You needed this bowl season to have those extra practices to get some guys some more reps and some more practice time. And you've seen it. Michigan thoroughly outclassed Florida, and Florida was the 5th-ranked defense in the country. So it wasn't like they went out and beat scrubs. It just looked like, though, Florida really didn't put forth their supreme effort, whereas Michigan they had the pedal to the metal, and Jake Rudock really looked like a decent quarterback that could maybe do something if he worked hard in the NFL.
Yeah, I think you've seen what you got out of that Michigan game was Jim Harbaugh's approach as it's all business. We're not here to mess around. And you've seen it rub off on the players, and they showed up, like you said, it was all work. They went there and they went to work. The best part about all of this, you got to see the maturation of this team in basically 3 extra weeks of practice.
Yep.
And the team looks totally different than it looked 3 weeks ago. They look like they can sit there and they can contend now with a team like Ohio State. Whether that's factual or not, we'll find out next season. But they sat there and they matured, they developed. It was great. And you're right. You got to see the maturation of a guy like Jake Rudock, who you were asking the question, is he better than Connor Cook right now? And I don't think he's better than Connor Cook because I don't think he has the same talent level as Connor Cook. Connor Cook, I think it's exponential, right? It can go as high as the sky, where I think that Jake Rudock's kind of got a ceiling on what he can be and where he can be at. That being said, I think he did a lot for his draft stock in that game. Where we were talking about before, is he maybe a guy who just kind of misses out on the draft and doesn't get picked up, maybe goes into that free agency period where they sit there and he's an undrafted free agent. He might be in there to now he's probably your 6th, 7th, possibly even a 5th round quarterback option because of what he's done and the tutelage that he's gotten from Jim Harbaugh. Michigan totally manhandled Florida. They looked exceptional. And think about it. They did it without probably their best player on the team with Jabril Peppers.
You watch that game and you say, okay, Jake Rudock played a solid game. Now, returning players next year, you're going to have a solid wide receiving core with Jehu Chesson and Darbo. You're going to have a great recruiting class coming in, widely touted. Is it fair in Jim Harbaugh's 2nd season to say, you know what, it's time to expect that Michigan gets to the National College Football Playoff? That talk is being out there like Jim Harbaugh will have a system in place. He'll have a quarterback likely that's been in the system that ran the practice squad and is going to be someone that's going to be under the tutelage of Jim Harbaugh. You're going to have a solid defense, bringing in the number 1 defensive coordinator from Boston College. Is that a fair expectation for Michigan in year 2?
I think it's too lofty.
Too lofty?
Too lofty. You have to win the Big Ten first. Actually, you have to win your division first.
But this is Michigan.
Yeah, well, the landscape's different now, all right? You have to win your division, which means you've got to go up against the likes of two national powers in Ohio State and Michigan State. Two guys who have been there and have done that. You've not been there. You've not done that yet. So once you can get onto their level, you win your division, then you go on and you win the Big Ten championship, then we can start talking. Again, you talked about it with Michigan State. Baby steps, right? You got to take those steps before. So their next goal, I think next year, you got to win the East. Win the East, and then go take care of the Big Ten. And then after that, we'll talk.
Okay. You know how I also know that Michigan State's arrived on the landscape? When Michigan State lost, there was a bunch of chirping going on from the Michigan fans who were like, oh, the luck ran out, da-da-da-da-da. And it was fun, mostly on Twitter. I get it. It's haters going to hate. But it was interesting. There are some Michigan fans out there, a section of you, who are starting to act like old Michigan State fans out there who root and openly wait for Michigan State to have some blunders so that you can throw out there your comments. Listen, I would take Michigan State's position this year over Michigan's any day of the week. I wouldn't want to see Michigan State win a game in a blowout fashion, and it doesn't mean anything. These bowl games now, relatively speaking, are just money grabs for these programs. And it's also a chance for the teams to kind of go out there and showcase, and get more practice time and showcase their talent at the end of the year. But in the end, basically, after the final championship games, there's really only two more games that are important: the national semis, and you want to be in it. And Michigan is going to have to really step it up this year, because I believe the expectation will be that they'll try to get to the playoff, because you got talent coming back, and the tough part is you got to have a young quarterback, but your schedule early on looks good to be ranked pretty high. So the expectation is going to be up there when you start 6-0, 7-0, and you're going to start facing the big dogs. So I don't think that it's a lofty goal to say that it could potentially happen. Michigan has a favorable schedule. You guys love to stay in Ann Arbor. I don't understand why you don't want to go on the road. You want to go on the road to Rutgers.
You talk so much shit. Just
who says that? Look at the schedule. I'm only looking at what I'm seeing. I'm like, oh, Michigan,
they got to travel.
Arbor,
they got to travel to Ohio State. They got to travel to Michigan State, and those are probably two of the biggest games of the year.
I think the schedule guy's like, okay, what can we do? Okay, let's start off. The Michigan philosophy is we're going to play 6 and 7 at home.
I don't even bother to troll you after you get your ass handed to you by Alabama, all right? I don't even bother to troll you.
Michigan would have lost 50-0.
Michigan goes on, and Michigan has a really good bowl game. And you're right, the bowl games are totally worthless. They're totally pointless.
Pointless.
There really is no point to them. All right,
it kills 3 hours on New Year's Day. It was nice.
And then you just sit here and you just keep running your mouth. Just shut up. Shut up. We can talk about this shit. We can talk about this shit next year. Just shut up.
I'm not running my mouth.
You're such a troll.
I'm just asking a simple question. I'm like, oh, look at this. Home, 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 home. Oh, away at Rutgers, home, home, home. I'm like, oh, okay. What an interesting way to set up your schedule.
I'm trying to pull the schedule up right now for 2016. Dude, it's not letting me.
But to come back, talk about Michigan State, they had a series set up versus Alabama, and it would have been, I think, next year.
Bama backed out on it.
Yeah. I'm thankful for that. We'd have got.
Saban was like, it was business decisions. Yeah. It was all about making money.
Yeah.
Like, Saban's an idiot.
Oh, well, it's going to be fun now. The rivalry's back. Michigan State. Next year again, the game is in East Lansing, so it's going to be a fun time. And really, college football is a fun thing to watch. But now it's time to segue to the NFL playoffs, which, the final week of the season was pretty interesting. Some teams got out. Some teams got in. The playoff matchups are set. It's well-deserved for us. Adam and I finished the regular season tied in the NFL Pick'em Challenge, 41-41, and we both had 2 games correct in the regular round, and we both picked the Lions game correctly. So again, the playoffs will decide the 2015 version of the NFL Pick'em Challenge. So let's see. This is the playoff edition, Wild Card Week. Who you got, sir? Let's start. We have the games all set up, so we want to go just right down the list.
Hey, you know what? Hold on one second. Before we even get going on this, just so you're aware, all right? You're right. They do have to go to Rutgers, which is whatever. But they do have to go to Michigan State, who Big Ten champs, all right? They have to go to Iowa, who was in
the Big Ten championship, and
right?
They're
the
solid.
West champion. And then they have to go to Ohio State. They got, that's all they got.
Yeah, right. After 10 weeks of coaching and the early practices, I mean, you do play.
You can't help the way the schedule falls.
The game that will be interesting in my mind is the game versus Wisconsin. you're going to have them, and they're going to be,
That'll be to kick off the 2016 football season for the Big Ten.
Yep, there you go. So you'll get a chance to see how Michigan shakes up. But I mean, you have a lot coming back, and Jim Harbaugh is quickly becoming a guy that, as you see now in San Francisco, they fired Tomasula quickly, and I like Jim Harbaugh's swagger. There's not much not to like about him, other than the fact that he wears that ugly M on his shirt, but he put out that cryptic tweet on Twitter, and I like that kind of stuff. I mean,
he does go trolling himself.
Yeah, and a little bit of trolling is nice. And in that situation, when you were kind of forced out, you kind of throw that dig back at your old boss, and hey, now look where he's at, and look where the 49ers are at. And you got Colin Kaepernick tweeting out, "Hey, congratulations!" So and Ric Flair tweeted Jim Harbaugh. That was cool. He said congratulations. So
It's your boy.
that was awesome. All right, so you want to go down this list with the playoffs, or you
Yeah,
want to
let's do this.
jump around? Okay, Kansas City, Houston, first game on the board, Saturday, 4:20. The line looks like it's what KC -3. Who you got?
That's right. I'm gonna lay the points, and I'm gonna take KC in this one. I think that this is a team that hasn't lost since October, and I don't think they're gonna lose to this Houston team. I love J.J. Watt. I just don't think there's enough on that offense to get it done.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. Houston is a really fascinating story. Bill O'Brien, another member of the Bill Belichick tree, had a really tumultuous up and down season, rotating quarterbacks. Dude though is a solid NFL head coach. Now you are in the dance. You got to show it against Kansas City. I like to go with the home teams, but Kansas City's been there before, and I like what they bring to the table. So I'm taking Kansas City -3 as well.
All right, the next game is Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. Cincinnati is going to be starting A.J. McCarron. I don't like when you start a rookie quarterback inside of a divisional playoff game. On top of that, this is a team that you've seen already twice this year. Pittsburgh is hot right now. That offense looks unstoppable. I know D'Angelo Williams is dealing with a little bit of a sprain in his ankle, but I think he'll be okay. It's a late enough game to where they're going to be fine. Look for Pittsburgh to roll this game. They are laying 2.5 points.
Man, this is a tough game. Yeah, you would give the edge to Pittsburgh, but the tough part is, though, Cincinnati, they get to the playoffs consistently, but they don't advance quite that often. Marvin Lewis, his playoff record with Cincinnati is really not
0-6, bro.
0-6.
Yep.
So do you say this is the kickoff where he gets his first victory? I say no. Give me Pittsburgh as well.
You know what's going to happen, right? Because everybody sits there and talks about how Andy Dalton can't win the big one, can't win a playoff
A.J. McCarron will come out and do
A.J.
it.
McCarron's going to come out. They're going to sit there and they're going to roll Pittsburgh.
Get a win, and Stafford's still on the schneid.
Right. All right, next game. Seattle at
Sunday
Minnesota.
games. Here we go.
Yep, these are the ones. These are the big time ones right here. So Seattle at Minnesota. Spreads 5 points. Seattle's traveling to Minnesota. Seattle is getting back Marshawn Lynch. Don't know how healthy he's going to be for this game, though, because he is coming off some abdominal surgery. Was supposed to be a sports hernia, but it sounds like it was a little bit more than that. However, Minnesota's been on fire. They handled Green Bay. They handled their business. They won the NFC North. However, Seattle's been totally hot since basically the Lions got screwed. They've been unstoppable, really. So I'm going to keep that train going. And Doug Baldwin's been a monster. So you now have your running game shirt up. You got your passing game shirt up. I'm going to go with Seattle, laying 5 points.
It's tough, man. I don't know. These playoff games tend to favor the home team.
I know.
So in this situation, I don't think Minnesota's outright going to win the game, but I think this is going to be one of those games that might go down to the fourth quarter. This might be the overtime game that you see back and forth. Could be a classic. Of the games, this one looks like to be a favorable matchup where the others may get out of hand early. This might be the best game of the weekend. I'm going to take Minnesota. I do believe that the game's going to be well within reason, so give me Minnesota +5.
All right, this one's for the bonus point. It's Green Bay at Washington. All right, so you got your boy Captain Kirk out there. He's basically put up his best season of his career. Green Bay's been struggling. That offensive line is atrocious. That defense is sometimes questionable. Like I said, Kirk Cousins completed 70% of his passes recently, which is unbelievable. The point spread is -1 for Green Bay. Green Bay is going on the road, and this is the 1 point where I take the home team. I'm going to take Washington and the point here. I think that they've got a little bit more going on. I think they're going to get at Aaron Rodgers, and I think they win this game.
Just based on what you've seen so far, how they've come into the playoffs, Green Bay comes in limping. They haven't played that good against solid teams. They're going on the road versus Washington. They got that swagger that you talk about that you really like. Kirk Cousins has emerged to be a solid guy. Can you imagine going from like $500-600 grand a year to maybe getting franchised and going to 20? I mean, talk about a big pay bump.
You like that?
I
you
like
that?
that. That's a nice pay bump. They want to keep him. He's instilled himself. He knows how to trademark his phrases, and he's basically relegated RG3 to a $3 shirt on the shelf.
Who?
RJ who? It's Kirk Cousins' team, baby. He's going to show it again. He's going to have a chance to match up versus the best. Should be a good game, but I'm going to stick with you. I'm only going to go one different, so if I lose that game, then we'll still be close. But give me Washington. I think it's going to be really not that competitive. I think maybe a close first quarter, then Washington gets rolling, a few big plays. You got it. You got it down pat. Washington, take it.
What happened to Green Bay this year?
A couple injuries. They were inconsistent, and then really Eddie Lacy basically hit the buffet and gained weight.
Dude,
and
he is chubby.
Dude, something happened. Yeah.
I know people, nobody wants to talk about it, but you could see that in the preseason. The guy gained like 20 pounds and he looked heavy. He it wasn't 20 pounds of muscle where he comes in looking like he's cock diesel. He 20 pounds and he looks chubby. Like you want to go poke him in his belly and see if he goes, woohoo.
Yes, sir. All right, that was a good podcast, man. We broke down a lot of things, a lot of news and notes too. Just real quickly, Dylan Larkin makes the All-Star team. That's a nice hit. It's going to be fun to see. I'm glad they abandoned that whole draft bullshit. Back to the tradition.
This is gonna be interesting what they're doing this year. It's gonna be interesting. They're doing it's a 3-on-3 tournament. It's totally different.
Oh wow.
It's not 5-on-5. It's a 3-on-3 tournament. They are doing something like a draft. You have guys who go and they pick their teams, and basically it's 4 squads that will compete against each other. This is gonna be interesting this year.
Okay, very
Always
nice.
trying to spice up the All-Star game for the NHL. Trying to get non-hockey fans to watch hockey. Good luck.
Anything going on this weekend for you of note?
Trying to learn how to use my new computer so we can get stuff going on around here.
Yes, sir. Do that. And then the other piece of news note, I was I used the time when you talk on about Michigan to look at Facebook. And Ronda Rousey.
Totally tune out.
Ronda Rousey to appear in swimsuit issue with nothing but body paint.
It's all right. You know what? She is. You think she's attractive or not?
Yeah.
I think she's.
It makes it more
sometimes
attractive that she can whip your ass. That's more attractive.
The thing on her face kind of throws me a little bit. Like you're kind of attractive, but I don't know. I can't look around that. You know who else is like that?
Mm-hmm. Who's that?
The lady on CBS Sports, Tracy Wolfenstein or whatever. Like from the side profile, when you just get the one side, you're like, damn, she's kind of hot for an older broad. And then she turns her head. She's got that giant chocolate chip thing just growing out the side by her nose. And you're like, maybe not. Everything just crawled inside me. Just check it out, dude. I'm telling you. Let me know. You check it out this week with the playoff games, and you're gonna see her, and you're gonna be like,
hey,
yeah, she's kind of hot. And then she's gonna turn, and you're gonna be like, nope.
All right, let's get out of here. Let's get about our day. Thank you for listening to the Detroit Sports Podcast. Look for a new feature on DetroitSportsPodcast.com. There is going to be Top Cat Sales Coach of the Week for the high school basketball season. You can vote. Our guy, Vito Churko, is the man. He's going to run that, and he's going to run the weekly Top Cat Sales poll on DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Thank you to DetroitSportsNation.com for hosting our podcast on their platform. We greatly appreciate the collaboration, and it's been a fun ride. Thanks to UofMDiehards.com. Their Twitter page is fun. Our guy Bobby is doing some fun things over there. He's taking it to the limit, and really, in the end, just make us feel important like influencers in terms of him kind of copying what we're doing and taking it to a great level with his blog. So it's all good.
I'm just sitting here shaking my head.
Hey, it's cool. We're influencers. It's nice to see. I've heard that before. So where did I hear that? All right. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Feel free, guys. If you like what we're doing, we like plagiarize. It's kind of an honor.
I can't believe you.
DetroitSportsPodcast.com. This has been Doc and Jock. See y'all.
Go Wings.
Sorry, Detroit. It didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I hear voices in my head, they counsel me, they understand, they talk to me. They talk to me, they tell me things that I will do, they show me things I'll do you, they talk to me.